I found a folder on his computer called Special Students. When I opened mine, it was full of surveillance photos and notes on how to isolate me. When I confronted him, he said, "You always wanted to be seen. I just walked away." That was 6 months ago. Now, his life is being taken from him. My life is like a real-life season of Shameless. My dad is an alcoholic who frequently mistakes me as his wife, my mom. And my mom is a schizophrenic delinquent who thinks I'm out to get her man, my dad. So school was everything to me. It was the one consistent thing in my life, and the one place where I had constant access to responsible adult figures, especially my history teacher, Mr. Henry. He was kind, sweet, the type of guy to immediately notice if something was on your mind. I talked to him about everything, and he never threatened to call CPS. He just listened, and to 17-year-old me, that was amazing. So when a case was opened up against him and he needed someone to testify, I said yes. You see, the case was about him assaulting one of the other students in the school, and in my eyes, he was a superhero who could do no wrong. So not only did I intend on giving him an amazing testimonial, but I also wanted to ruin the girl's life, with his guidance, of course. One day, he pulled me aside after class and began to cry. I hugged him and told him I would do anything to make him feel better, because at the time, I agreed. There was nothing worse than trying to ruin the life of an innocent man. On a piece of paper, he gave me her address and told me to make him proud. So I did. I went to the mall and bought 30 dolls that looked exactly like her, which wasn't hard considering she had blonde hair, blue eyes, basically looked like every other beach. I waited until midnight, when all the lights in her house were off. I still don't know what pushed me to do all this. Maybe the daddy issues, the mommy issues, or maybe I'm just effed up. Either way, I took all the dolls and hung them by the neck around her fence and on her trees. When I was done, her front garden looked like it could be on the set of a horror movie. I thought about her spoiled face reacting to this, how she'd cry, how she might even throw up. The image alone was enough to make me laugh so hard that my ribs started hurting. When I saw her at school the next day, she was a shell of the girl who had once accused Mr. Henry. It was laughable. Pale face, staggered walking, trembling hands. But the best part? The hug Mr. Henry gave me after class when everyone had left. And most importantly, the words he said. "I'm proud of you." They filled my young soul with so much love that every cell in my body just wanted to please him, to make him more proud, to make him love me. So, I continued to terrorize my classmate. Every day after school, when no one was looking, I'd put a plastic bag filled with the organs of a cow, the unsellable parts from my local butcher, into her locker. And I always managed to slip notes into her backpack telling her that we all know she's lying. And because Mr. Henry was under intense surveillance, they knew it wasn't him, and they never linked it to me. But my favorite day was the day of her court case. She was such a stammering mess from my months of psychological torture that she didn't even sound coherent. So it didn't take long before Mr. Henry was pronounced innocent. And again, while no one was looking, I met him behind the courthouse and gave him a huge hug. He even picked me up and twirled me around. It was the biggest smile I had ever experienced. And while our faces were practically touching, his lips accidentally landed on mine. Butterflies filled my stomach. His face went red and he apologized, and I had to pretend not to want more. But the next day, I woke up to the news. The girl had unalived herself. I should have known Mr. Henry wasn't the superhuman I thought he was. But back then, I was too brainwashed to even question that. So I didn't even feel guilty or sad. I just laughed. I thought it was justice being served. Plus, Mr. Henry even gave me a gift the next day, paired with a card that thanked me for letting the trash take itself out. From there, our relationship continued to progress. He started giving me after-school tutoring, where our hands and legs would constantly touch. When we were together, the air was electric. And when I finally graduated, he was the only one to congratulate me. His email made my heart skip a beat, and I asked if he wanted to celebrate in person together. Fast forward to July of that summer, and we were feasting on a meal together in his home. He treated me to this delicious red wine, and it was so good that I finished an entire bottle. When I did, he carried me to his guest room. I thought he was going to just let me sleep, but instead, he got in bed beside me. Before I knew it, his hand was probing me. I tried to push him off, but it didn't work. "I've been waiting for this ever since your first day of 9th grade. I drifted in and out of consciousness as he took my jeans off and proceeded to steal my innocence. When he was done, he left, and I fell asleep. But the next day, I woke up to my body filled with adrenaline. Everything hit me. That girl was right, and now I was a victim. Rage boiled my blood. No amount of validation was worth a predator walking the streets as a free man. Not even Mr. Henry. I knew I had to do whatever it takes to fix my mistake and make him pay the price. I spent the next 3 days locked in my room. My parents barely noticed. Dad was on another bender, and Mom was convinced the neighbors were spying on her through the walls. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that girl's face. Megan. Her name was Megan Thompson. I never even used her name before. She was just that lying girl to me. Now I couldn't stop saying it. I grabbed my laptop and started searching for everything I could find about her. Social media accounts, news articles about her death, anything. I found her memorial page. The comments were full of people saying how sweet she was, how she loved animals and wanted to be a vet. Her little sister posted about missing her every day. I threw up in my trash can. What had I done? I helped a monster walk free. I terrorized an innocent girl until she couldn't take it anymore. And for what? For a pat on the head from a predator who had been grooming me since I was 14. I needed proof. Something to show what Mr. Henry really was. I checked my phone and found all our text messages. They seemed innocent enough on the surface. Just a teacher checking in on a troubled student. But reading them now, I could see the manipulation. The way he slowly isolated me, made me dependent on his approval. I saved everything. Next, I went through my email. There were dozens of messages from him over the years. Most were about homework or class projects, but some crossed lines. Comments about how mature I was for my age, how special, how different from the other students. I saved those too. Then I remembered the card he gave me after Megan died. I dug through my desk drawer and found it. The message inside made my skin crawl. Thank you for letting the trash take itself out. You're the only one who truly understands me. I put it in a plastic bag. It wasn't enough. I needed more. Something that would prove what he did to me and what he tried to do to Megan. I remembered his house. That night, the wine glasses would still have my fingerprints. Maybe there were cameras. Rich neighborhoods like his often had security systems. I waited until Friday night. My dad passed out on the couch around 8, and my mom was having one of her paranoid episodes in the basement. I grabbed my backpack and snuck out. The bus took me within a mile of Mr. Henry's neighborhood. I walked the rest, staying in the shadows. His house was dark except for one light upstairs. His car wasn't in the driveway. Perfect. I circled around to the back where we'd had dinner that night. The patio table was still there. I tried the back door. Locked. Of course. I checked under the potted plants and found nothing. Then I remembered him reaching up to the top of the door frame for a key when we arrived that night. I stretched up on my tiptoes and felt around. My fingers touched cold metal. The key. I grabbed it and unlocked the door, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. I slipped inside and stood completely still, listening. Nothing but the hum of the refrigerator. I moved through the kitchen to the dining room. The wine glasses were gone, obviously, but I noticed a small camera in the corner of the ceiling, a security camera. My stomach dropped. If I could get the footage from that night, I headed upstairs, careful to avoid the creaky step I remembered from before. The light was coming from what looked like an office. I peeked in, empty. A computer sat on the desk, the screen showing a screensaver of mountain landscapes. I slipped in and jiggled the mouse. Password protected. I tried a few obvious ones. His birthday, the school name. Nothing worked. Then I tried Megan on a hunch. The screen unlocked. This sick freak was using her name as his password. I wanted to smash the computer right there. I searched through his files looking for anything related to security footage, found a folder labeled Home Security, and clicked it. Hundreds of video files, organized by date. I scrolled back to July and found the night he assaulted me. I copied it to my USB drive. While the file transferred, I noticed another folder. It was simply labeled Special Students. My hands shook as I clicked it. Inside were subfolders with girls' names. Megan's was there. So was mine. And 6 others. I copied the entire folder. The USB drive was almost full when I heard a car. Door slam outside. I yanked it from the computer, closed everything, and put the screen back to sleep. Footsteps on the front porch. Keys jingling. I ducked into the hallway and into the nearest room. It was his bedroom. I heard the front door open downstairs. Footsteps in the entryway. I looked around frantically for a hiding place. Under the bed? No. Too obvious. The closet? Maybe. I opened it quietly and slipped inside, pulling the door almost closed. The bedroom light flicked on. Through the crack in the door, I saw Mr. Henry enter. He loosened his tie and tossed his jacket on the bed. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Hey, it's me, he said. Yeah, I just got back from the conference. Any problems with the new girl? Good, good. She reminds me of Emma. Same vulnerability, same need for approval. He laughed. Don't worry, I'm taking it slow, building trust first. Emma, that was me. He was talking about grooming another student. I felt sick. I needed to get out of there, but he was blocking the only exit. He kicked off his shoes and sat on the bed, still talking. I pressed myself deeper into the closet. Something sharp poked my back. I reached behind me carefully and felt picture frames. I turned slightly and saw a stack of them on a shelf. I angled one toward the sliver of light from the bedroom. It was a photo of a girl in our school uniform. Not me, not Megan, someone else. There were at least a dozen frames. Mr. Henry finally finished his call and headed to the bathroom. I heard the shower start. This was my chance. I grabbed one of the photos and stuffed it in my backpack alongside the USB drive. Then I slipped out of the closet, through the bedroom, and down the stairs. I was almost to the back door when I heard the shower stop. No time to be careful now. I ran outside, not bothering to lock the door behind me. I sprinted all the way to the main road and didn't stop until I reached the bus stop. My lungs were burning. The bus came 10 minutes later. I collapsed into a seat, clutching my backpack like it contained gold. In a way, it did. Evidence. Proof. The truth about Mr. Henry. But what was I supposed to do with it? Go to the police? The same police who didn't believe Megan? They'd never take the word of a troubled kid from a messed up family. I needed help. Someone who would believe me. Someone who would know what to do. I scrolled through my contacts, but there was no one. Mr. Henry had made sure of that. He'd slowly convinced me that everyone else was unreliable. Teachers, counselors, even the few friends I had. He'd isolated me completely. Then I remembered Ms. Patel, my English teacher. She and Megan had been close. She'd been devastated after Megan's death. She'd even taken a few weeks off. If anyone would help me, it would be her. I got home around midnight. My dad was still passed out on the couch. My mom had locked herself in her room. I went straight to my computer and backed up everything on the USB drive to a cloud account. Then I hid the drive and the photo in a hollowed-out book on my shelf. The next morning, I emailed Ms. Patel asking if we could meet. I said it was urgent and related to Megan. She responded within an hour, agreeing to meet me at a coffee shop near school that afternoon. I spent the morning going through the files I'd stolen. The security footage clearly showed Mr. Henry drugging my wine. It showed him carrying me upstairs. It showed him returning downstairs an hour later, straightening his clothes. The special students folder was even worse. Notes on each girl, when we were most vulnerable, what we responded to, how to isolate us from friends and family, photos taken without our knowledge. It was all there in black and white, his predatory playbook. I arrived at the coffee shop early and chose a table in the corner. Ms. Patel showed up right on time. She looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes. She ordered a coffee and sat across from me. I took a deep breath and told her everything. How Mr. Henry had manipulated me. How I'd terrorized Megan. How I'd helped him get away with it. How he'd assaulted me. How I'd found evidence that there were other girls before us and more to come. She didn't interrupt. didn't judge, just listened, her expression growing darker by the minute. When I finished, she reached across the table and took my hand. "I believe you," she said. Those 3 words broke something inside me. I started crying. Not quiet tears, but huge, gulping sobs. She moved to my side of the table and put her arm around me. "We're going to stop him," she told me. "But we need to be smart about this. He's been getting away with this for years because he's careful, because he picks vulnerable girls who won't be believed." I wiped my eyes. "What do we do?" "First, we need more evidence," she said, "and we need to find the other girls." Ms. Patel and I spent the next week tracking down the other girls from Mr. Henry's special students folder. It wasn't easy. Some had graduated years ago. Others had transferred schools. A few had moved away completely. But Ms. Patel was determined. And honestly, so was I. The first girl we found was Jasmine Rodriguez. She'd graduated 3 years before me and was now working at a local bookstore. Ms. Patel went in first to make sure she was there. Then I followed with my backpack full of evidence. Jasmine recognized me right away. "You're Emma, right? Mr. Henry's favorite?" There was something in her voice when she said his name. A hardness. I knew immediately she'd been through it too. We waited until her break, then sat at a table in the corner of the store's little cafe. I showed her the folder with her name on it. Her hands shook as she looked through it. "I always thought I was crazy," she said. "He was so careful, never left evidence, always made sure we were alone." She looked up at me. "How did you get this?" I told her everything. About Megan, about what I'd done to her, about the night at his house, about breaking in to get evidence. She didn't judge me for what I'd done to Megan. Maybe she should have, but she just nodded like she understood. "He did the same thing to me," she said. "Made me think another girl was lying about him. I didn't go as far as you did, but I didn't believe her either." She pushed the folder away. "What are you planning to do with all this?" "We're building a case," Ms. Patel explained. "The more victims who come forward, the stronger it will be." Jasmine hesitated. "I don't know if I can do that. My parents would call me if they found out. They think Mr. Henry was the reason I got into college." "He's still teaching," I said. "Still targeting girls." That got her. She agreed to think about it and took Ms. Patel's number. As we were leaving, she grabbed my arm. "Be careful," she warned. "He has friends in the school. People who protect him." The next girl was harder to convince. Zoe Chen had graduated 5 years ago and was now in medical school. She flat out refused to meet us at first. Ms. Patel had to call her 3 times before she agreed to a video chat. "I put all that behind me," she said, her face serious on the screen. "I'm not digging it up again." I showed her the folder with her name, the pictures he'd taken of her without her knowledge, the notes about how to isolate her from friends. Her face went pale. "He has this on 7 other girls," I said, "including me, and he's targeting someone new now." She closed her eyes for a moment. "What do you need from me?" "Just your statement," Ms. Patel said. "What happened? When it happened? Any details you remember?" Zoe nodded slowly. "I can do that, but I'm not testifying in person. I can't risk my medical career getting tangled up in this." We agreed to her terms. She emailed her statement the next day. It was detailed, clinical, and devastating. Mr. Henry had used the same tactics on her that he'd used on me. The same grooming, the same isolation, the same assault after graduation. The third girl, Olivia Martinez, was still in therapy because of what Mr. Henry had done to her. She agreed to meet us immediately. She brought pages of journal entries documenting his behavior. She'd been keeping them since elevated school, sensing something was wrong but never able to put her finger on it until it was too late. "I tried to report him," she told us, 2 years ago. "The principal said there wasn't enough evidence, that it was my word against his, that I should be careful about making accusations that could ruin someone's career." Principal Dawson, the same principal who was still at our school, the same one who had initially dismissed Megan's accusations. I was starting to see what Jasmine meant about Mr. Henry having protectors. By the end of the week, we'd contacted 6 of the 8 girls from the folder. 5 agreed to help us. The 6th hung up as soon as Ms. Patel mentioned Mr. Henry's name. The last 2 we couldn't find. One had apparently moved abroad. The other had no social media presence at all, which was weird for someone in their 20s. "This is good," Ms. Patel said, looking over all the statements we'd collected. "With the security footage and these testimonies, we have a strong case." "So we go to the police now?" I asked. She hesitated. "Not yet. We need to be strategic about this. If we go to the wrong person, this could all disappear." "What do you mean?" "Think about it, Emma. Mr. Henry has been doing this for years. How has he gotten away with it? He must have connections. People who look the other way. First, thought about Principal Dawson, about how quickly Megan's accusations had been dismissed. So what do? We need to find someone we can trust. Someone with authority who isn't connected to the school. That's when I remembered Officer Reyes. She'd come to our school for Career Day last year. She worked in the Special Victims Unit and had given a presentation about consent and reporting ABSI. She'd seemed genuine, not like the cops who usually just told us not to do DARGs. I found her card in my desk drawer at home. I'd kept it because she was the first female cop I'd ever met, and something about that had seemed important at the time. I called the number the next morning. "Special Victims, Officer Reyes speaking." I froze for a second. Now that I had her on the phone, I didn't know what to say. "Hello?" she said. Hi, my name is Emma Winters. You came to Westlake Elevated for Career Day last year? I was wondering if I could talk to you about something sensitive." There was a pause. "Of course, Emma. Would you like to come to the station? Or would you prefer I meet you somewhere else?" "Somewhere else, please." The thought of going to the police station made my stomach churn. We arranged to meet at a park near my house. Ms. Patel came with me for support. Officer Reyes was already there when we arrived, sitting at a picnic table in civilian clothes. She looked younger than I remembered, maybe early 30s. I brought my backpack with copies of everything. The security footage, the folders, the statements from the other girls. Ms. Patel had suggested we keep the originals somewhere safe, so I'd hidden them at her apartment. Officer Reyes listened without interrupting as I told her everything. About Mr. Henry, about Megan, about what I'd done and what he'd done to me, about breaking into his house and finding evidence of other victims. Her face remained neutral, but I saw her hands tighten on her coffee cup when I described the assault. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment, First, I want to say how brave you are for coming forward, she finally said. What you've been through is traumatic, and the fact that you're here trying to protect others shows incredible strength. I hadn't expected that. I'd expected questions about why I'd waited, or why I'd terrorized Megan, or why I'd broken into Mr. Henry's house. Not praise. Second, I want you to know that I believe you, and based on what you've shown me, we have enough to open an investigation. Will I have to testify? I asked. The thought made me feel sick. Eventually, possibly. But there are many steps before that. She looked at the evidence I'd brought. This is a good start, but I need to be honest with you. The way you obtained this evidence could cause problems. Breaking and entering is illegal, even if your intentions were good. My heart sank. So it's useless? I didn't say that. We can use it to guide our investigation, find legal ways to obtain the same information. She leaned forward. Emma, I promise you, I will do everything in my power to make sure this man faces justice, but I need you to let me handle it from here. No more breaking into houses, okay? I nodded, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. Someone with actual authority believed me, was going to help me. It felt unreal. Officer Reyes took our contact information and promised to be in touch soon. As we watched her walk away, Ms. Patel squeezed my shoulder. You did good, Emma. Really good. For the first time since that night at Mr. Henry's house, I felt like maybe things would be okay. That feeling lasted exactly 3 days. I was walking home from the bus stop when a black SUV pulled up beside me. The window rolled down and there was Mr. Henry, smiling like we were old friends. Emma, just the person I wanted to see. Hop in, I'll give you a ride home. My blood turned to ice. Did he know? Had Officer Reyes already contacted him? I clutched my backpack tighter. No thanks, I'm almost home. His smile didn't waver, but something in his eyes hardened. I insist. We have some things to discuss. I have to go. I started walking faster. He drove slowly alongside me. I know you were in my house, Emma. I have security cameras, remember? I saw you. I stopped walking. Of course he had other cameras. How could I have been so stupid? Get in the car, Emma. Unless you want me to call the police and report a break-in. I looked around. The street was empty. No witnesses. No help. I got in the car. He drove in silence for a few minutes, heading in the opposite direction of my house. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Ms. Patel asking if we were still meeting tomorrow. I tried to respond without looking at my phone, but Mr. Henry noticed. Phone, he said, holding out his hand. No, Emma. His voice had that teacher tone, the one that used to make me want to please him. Now it just made me want to throw up. Phone, now. I handed it over. He glanced at the screen, saw Ms. Patel's name, and his jaw tightened. He turned off the phone and put it in his jacket pocket. Where are we going? I asked, trying to keep the fear out of my voice. Somewhere we can talk privately. He turned onto a road leading out of town. You've been busy, haven't you? Breaking into my house, stealing my property, talking to Officer Reyes. My heart stopped. How do you know about that? He smiled. I have friends, Emma. Friends who keep me informed. Did you really think you were the first student to try this? To gather evidence? To go to the police? We were on a rural road now, surrounded by fields. No houses in sight, no people, just emptiness. What happened to the others? I asked, my mouth dry. Nothing dramatic. They realized the potential consequences of their actions, the damage to their reputations, the scrutiny of their own behavior. He glanced at me. What would people think if they knew what you did to Megan Thompson? If they saw the texts where you gleefully described terrorizing her? I felt sick. He was right. I'd sent him messages about what I'd done to Megan. Proud messages, seeking his approval. He had evidence against me too. You're a smart girl, Emma. You always were. That's why I'm giving you this chance to fix your mistake. He pulled over to the side of the road. Delete the files. Tell Officer Reyes you made it all up for attention. End this now, and we can both move on with our lives. I stared at him. This man I'd once trusted completely. This monster who'd manipulated me, used me, assaulted me, and was now threatening me. And suddenly, I wasn't afraid anymore. I was angry. No, I said. His smile faltered. Excuse me? I said no. I'm not deleting anything. I'm not telling Officer Reyes I made it up. I'm not protecting you anymore. His face changed. The mask of the caring teacher dropped completely, revealing something cold and hard underneath. You ungrateful little... He caught himself. Took a breath. The mask slipped back on. You're not thinking clearly, Emma. Consider what you're risking. Your future. Your reputation. Give me my phone, I said. We're not done talking. Yes, we are. I reached for the door handle. He grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in painfully. You walk away now. You'll regret it. I promise you that. I looked him straight in the eye. Let go of me, or I'll scream so loud they'll hear me back in town. For a moment, I thought he might hit me. His free hand twitched, but then he released my arm and unlocked the doors. This isn't over, he said as I got out. Yes, it is. I slammed the door and started walking back toward town. He drove past me, spraying gravel. I waited until his car disappeared around a bend, then pulled out the burner phone Ms. Patel had insisted I carry. Just in case, she'd said. I called her. He knows, I said when she answered. About everything. The break-in. Officer Reyes. He tried to threaten me. Where are you? The alarm in her voice made my heart race again. I looked around. Nothing but fields and a distant farmhouse. I don't know exactly. He drove me out on County Road 16. I'm walking back now. Stay where you are. I'm coming to get you. No, I don't want to stay here. He might come back. Then walk toward town, but stay on the line with me. I did as she said, keeping the phone pressed to my ear as I walked. It took her 20 minutes to find me. By then, I was shaking from adrenaline crash and the cooling evening air. She drove me straight to her apartment. You can't go home, she said. Not until we figure this out. It's not safe. My parents, will they even notice you're gone? She had a point. Dad was in the middle of a bender that had lasted all week. Mom was convinced the CIA was monitoring her through the microwave. Neither of them had noticed when I stayed at a friend's house for 3 days last year. Ms. Patel's apartment was small but neat. She gave me the couch and a spare blanket. Try to get some sleep, she said. We'll call Officer Reyes in the morning. But I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mr. Henry's face. The way it changed when I said no, the coldness underneath the mask. I kept thinking about what he'd said about having friends who kept him informed. Who were they? How much did they know? How far would they go to protect him? I got up and checked that the door was locked, then the windows, then the door again. Ms. Patel found me sitting against the wall at 3 a.m., jumping at every sound. Emma, she said softly, sitting beside me. You're safe. Here. He has people helping him, I said. He knows things he shouldn't know. She was quiet for a moment. I've been thinking about that, about who might be protecting him. Principal Dawson for sure. Maybe others in the administration. Officer Reyes? She shook her head. I don't think so. She seems genuine, but maybe someone else at the station. The thought made me feel even less safe. If we couldn't trust the police, who could we trust? What if we went public? I suggested. Put everything online where everyone could see it. That's risky. For you and for the other girls. Your names would be out there forever, attached to this. So what do we do? She thought for a moment. We need leverage. Something so damning that even his protectors can't ignore it. Like what? We already have the security footage, the folders on the girls, the statements. Something current, she said. Proof that he's still doing it. You said he mentioned a new girl? I nodded, remembering the phone call I'd overheard. He didn't say her name, just that she reminded him of me. We need to find her, warn her, and maybe, she trailed off. Maybe what? Maybe get proof of him targeting her. Something his friends can't sweep under the rug. It was a dangerous plan. Using another girl as bait felt wrong. But if we could save her from what happened to me, to Megan, to all the others, how do we find her? I asked. You said he likes vulnerable girls. Girls with problems at home. Girls who need a father figure. She looked at me. Sound familiar? I nodded. That described me perfectly when Mr. Henry first took an interest in me. So we look for girls who fit that profile, who spend time with him after school, who he pays special attention to. The next day, we drove to a coffee shop near the school. It was where students usually hung out after classes. We sat in a corner booth with a view of the door and waited. Students started trickling in around 3:30, groups of friends laughing together, couples holding hands, a few loners with headphones and laptops. I watched them all, trying to remember what I looked like to Mr. Henry, what had made me a target. Then I saw her, a girl with dark hair and sad eyes, sitting alone with a textbook. She looked up every time the door opened, like she was waiting for someone, hoping for someone. I recognized that look. I'd worn it myself. That's her, I whispered to Ms. Patel, the one in the blue sweater. Ms. Patel glanced over. Are you sure? Number, but she has that look. We watched as the girl checked her phone, frowned, then went back to her book. 10 minutes later, the door opened again, and Mr. Henry walked in. The girl's face lit up. He sat across from her, said something that made her laugh, then put his hand over hers on the table. That's definitely her, I said, feeling sick. Ms. Patel nodded. Her name is Lily Nguyen. She's in my sophomore English class. Bright girl, but quiet. Parents are going through a nasty divorce. Perfect prey for Mr. Henry. Vulnerable, needing stability, needing someone to care. We have to warn her, I said, starting to stand. Ms. Patel pulled me back down. Not here. Not with him right there. We need to be smart about this. We waited until they left the coffee shop. Mr. Henry walked Lily to her car, his hand on the small of her back in that proprietary way I remembered all too well. Then he got in his own car and drove away. Ms. Patel approached Lily in the parking lot. Lily, do you have a minute? I wanted to talk to you about your essay. Lily looked confused but nodded. Sure, Ms. Patel. Actually, could you follow me to my car? I have the rubric there that I wanted to show you. Lily followed us to Ms. Patel's car. Once we were all inside, Ms. Patel turned to face her. Lily, this isn't about your essay. This is about Mr. Henry. The girl's face closed off immediately. What about him? We know he's been spending time with you after school, I said. Texting you, making you feel special. Her eyes narrowed. Who are you? My name is Emma. I graduated last year. Mr. Henry did the same thing to me, and to at least 7 other girls before me. She shook her head. You don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Henry is just helping me with history. He knows I'm having a hard time at home. I know, I said. My parents are a mess too. My dad's an alcoholic. My mom has schizophrenia. Mr. Henry was the only stable adult in my life, the only one who seemed to care. That got her attention. Her eyes widened slightly. He picks girls like us on purpose, I continued. Girls with problems at home. Girls who need someone to lean on. He makes us trust him, depend on him, and then he uses that trust. You're lying, she said, but her voice wavered. First, pulled out my phone and showed her the security footage from Mr. Henry's house. Just a clip, nothing graphic, just enough to show him drugging my wine, carrying me upstairs. He did this to me, I said. He did worse to a girl named Megan Thompson. She unalived herself last year because of him, because of what I did to her for him. Lily's face had gone pale. I can't. We're not asking you to do anything right now, Ms. Patel said gently. Just to be careful, to think about what Emma has told you, and to call us if you ever feel uncomfortable or unsafe with Mr. Henry. We gave her our numbers. She took them with shaking hands, then practically ran to her car. I watched her drive away, hoping we'd gotten through to her. Do you think she believed us? I asked Ms. Patel. I don't know, but we planted the seed of doubt. That's something. The next day, Lily texted me. Just 2 words. You're right. I called her immediately. What happened? He invited me to his house tonight, she said, her voice small. Said he wanted to celebrate my improved grades with a special dinner, just like you said. My stomach dropped. You're not going, right? I told him I would. Before I could protest, she rushed on. But I'm not. Not really. I thought, maybe we could use this. Get proof. Lily, no, it's too dangerous. I won't go inside, she promised. I'll just get him to say something incriminating. Record it on my phone. I didn't like it. It felt too risky. But I also understood her need to do something, to take back some control. It was the same reason I'd broken into his house. Let me talk to Ms. Patel, I said. We'll figure out a safer way to do this. Ms. Patel was even more against the idea than I was. Absolutely not. We are not putting a 16-year-old girl in danger. I'm already in danger, Lily argued over the phone. He's already targeting me. At least this way we get something out of it. We went back and forth for hours. Finally, we reached a compromise. Lily would text Mr. Henry to change the location to a public restaurant. She'd wear a recording device Ms. Patel borrowed from a journalist friend. Ms. Patel and I would be at a nearby table. Officer Reyes would be on standby. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than Lily going to his house alone. The plan was set for Friday night. Lily would meet Mr. Henry at Bella's, an Italian restaurant downtown. She'd try to get him to talk about their special relationship, about his plans for after she graduated, about anything that would show his true intentions. Friday came, and I was a nervous wreck. What if something went wrong? What if he recognized Ms. Patel? What if he somehow knew it was a setup? We arrived at the restaurant early and took a table in the corner with a good view of the entrance. Lily texted that she was on her way. Officer Reyes confirmed she was parked across the street. At 7 o'clock exactly, Mr. Henry walked in. He was wearing a suit, his hair perfectly styled. He spoke to the hostess, who led him to a table for two by the window. 5 minutes later, Lily arrived. She looked younger than usual in a simple dress and minimal makeup. Deliberately younger, I realized, playing into what she knew he liked. She sat across from him, smiling nervously. He reached across the table and took her hand. Even from across the room, I could see her stiffen slightly before forcing herself to relax. They ordered drinks. Water for her, wine for him. They talked. We couldn't hear what they were saying from our table, but the recording device would catch it all. I watched as he leaned in closer, as his hand moved from the table to her arm, as he laughed at something she said. It was like watching my own past play out in front of me. The way he made her feel special. The way he touched her just enough to establish intimacy, but not enough to raise alarms. The way he positioned himself as her protector, her guide, her friend. Halfway through the meal, Lily excused herself to the bathroom. She passed by our table on the way. It's working, she whispered. He's talking about how mature I am, how I'm not like other girls my age. She continued to the bathroom. Mr. Henry watched her go, his eyes following her in a way that made my skin crawl. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Ms. Patel tensed beside me. Something's wrong. Lily returned from the bathroom a few minutes later. Mr. Henry was all smiles again, putting his phone away as she sat down. But something had changed. The air felt different, charged somehow. They finished their meal. He paid the bill. They stood to leave. According to the plan, Lily was supposed to decline a ride home, saying her mom was picking her up. Ms. Patel and I would follow her to the parking lot, where Officer Reyes was waiting. But as they walked out, Mr. Henry's arm around Lily's shoulders, I saw two men get up from a table near the door and follow them. Men I hadn't noticed before. Men who looked out of place in the family restaurant. Something's definitely wrong, I said, standing up. Those men, Ms. Patel was already moving. We hurried after them, reaching the parking lot just in time to see Mr. Henry guiding Lily toward his car. The two men were hanging back, watching. Lily! Ms. Patel called out. Mr. Henry's head snapped up. He saw us and his face darkened. What are you doing here? He demanded. Lily, come here, I said, ignoring him. Lily tried to pull away from Mr. Henry, but he tightened his grip on her arm. We had an agreement, he said to her, his voice low and dangerous. Let her go, Ms. Patel said, pulling out her phone. I'm calling the police. One of the men stepped forward. No need for that, ma'am. He pulled out a badge. Detective Marsh, Westlake PD. We've got this under control. My blood ran cold. This was a setup. These weren't real police. Or if they were Mr. Henry's friends, the ones who kept him informed. Officer Reyes was supposed to be here. Where was she? I don't believe you, Ms. Patel said, still holding her phone. I'm calling Officer Reyes. Officer Reyes has been reassigned, the man claiming to be Detective Marsh said. This case is under my jurisdiction now. Mr. Henry smiled. That smug, confident smile I'd once found so reassuring. Now it just made me want to scream. You see, Emma, he said. I told you. I have friends. Friends who understand that troubled young women sometimes make up stories for attention. Lily was crying now, still trying to pull away from him. You're hurting me, she said. Let her go, I repeated, stepping forward. The second man moved to block me. Stay back, miss. That's when I heard it. Sirens. Getting closer. Mr. Henry heard them too. His smile faltered. A police car pulled into the parking lot, lights flashing. Officer Reyes stepped out, followed by two uniformed officers. Detective Marsh, she said, her voice cold. Funny running into you here, especially since you're supposed to be on administrative leave pending an investigation. The man who'd claimed to be Marsh paled. This isn't what it looks like, Reyes. It looks like you're interfering with my investigation, she said. It looks like you're helping a suspect intimidate witnesses. She turned to the uniformed officers. Take their badges and GNs. Both of them. Mr. Henry's grip on Lily loosened in his shock. She wrenched her arm free and ran to us. Ms. Patel wrapped her in a hug. This is a mistake, Mr. Henry said, his voice rising. These girls are lying. They're troubled. They have histories of mental illness, of making things up for attention. Save it for your lawyer, Officer Reyes said. She nodded to one of the uniformed officers, who moved to handcuff Mr. Henry. You can't do this, he said, backing away. Do you know who I am? Who my friends are? I know exactly who you are, Officer Reyes said. And I know exactly who your friends are. That's why I brought officers from the state police, not local. That's why I've been building this case quietly, without filing official reports that might get back to your protectors. The fight seemed to go out of him then. He allowed himself to be handcuffed and led to the police car. The two fake detectives were being put in another car. Officer Reyes came over to us. Are you all okay? Lily nodded, wiping tears from her face. I got it all, she said, touching the recording device hidden under her collar. Everything he said about grooming me, about his plans for after graduation, about the other girls. Good work, Officer Reyes said. All of you. We've got him. I should have felt relieved, triumphant, but all I felt was tired, so incredibly tired. It had been weeks of fear, of planning, of looking over my shoulder, and now it was over, or so I thought. The next morning, Ms. Patel got a call from Officer Reyes. Mr. Henry had been released on bail. His lawyer was already spinning a story about overzealous students with grudges, about a teacher being persecuted for trying to help troubled teens. What about the evidence? I asked when Ms. Patel told me. The security footage? The folders? The recording? His lawyer is arguing that the security footage was obtained illegally, which it was. The folders could be explained away as him keeping track of at-risk students. And the recording, well, it's damning, but they're questioning its authenticity. I felt like I was going to be sick. So he's going to get away with it. Again. Not necessarily, Ms. Patel said. Officer Reyes is still building the case. And now that Lily has come forward, other current students might too. But I could see the worry in her eyes. Mr. Henry had powerful friends. Friends who had protected him for years. Friends who might still protect him now. What do we do? I asked. She hesitated. Officer Reyes suggested we might want to leave town for a while. Just until the trial. Leave? I can't leave. What about my parents? Emma, your parents haven't even noticed you've been staying with me for the past week. She was right. I'd gone home once to get more clothes, and the house had been empty. Dad was probably on another bender. Mom was probably at one of her secret meetings, where she thought she was communicating with government whistleblowers. Where would we go? I asked. I have a sister in Portland. She said we could stay with her as long as we need to. It felt like running away, like letting Mr. Henry win. But what choice did we have? He was out on bail, angry, and had already shown he was willing to threaten me, to try to intimidate Lily. Okay, I said. Portland. We left that night. Ms. Patel, Lily, and me. Lily's mom came too, finally believing her daughter after seeing the recording. We drove straight through, taking turns at the wheel, constantly checking to make sure we weren't being followed. Ms. Patel's sister, Priya, welcomed us with open arms. Her house was small but comfortable, with enough room for all of us if we squeezed. She didn't ask questions, just showed us to our rooms and told us to get some rest. I couldn't sleep that first night. I kept thinking about Mr. Henry out on bail, about his friends in the police department, about how close we'd come to having him arrested, only for the system to let him walk free again. The next morning, Officer Reyes called with an update. The state police had executed a search warrant on Mr. Henry's house. They'd found more evidence. Photos, videos, journals detailing his relationships with students going back 15 years. This is good news, Ms. Patel said after hanging up. With physical evidence obtained legally through a warrant, his lawyer can't argue it away. So we can go home? Lily asked. Not yet. The trial could take months to start, and until then, he's still out there. So we settled into a routine in Portland. Ms. Patel and Lily's mom found temporary jobs. Lily enrolled in the local elevated school. I applied to community college, figuring I might as well do something productive while we waited. Weeks passed, then months. Officer Reyes called regularly with updates. More victims had come forward. The case was getting stronger. Mr. Henry's lawyer was talking about a plea deal. And then, 6 months after we'd fled Westlake, Officer Reyes called with news that changed everything. They found Megan Thompson's journal, she said, hidden in her bedroom. Her parents never knew about it. It details everything Mr. Henry did to her, everything you did to her under his direction. And most importantly, it names names. Other teachers who knew, administrators who covered it up, even the previous police chief who buried reports. The journal was the missing piece, the thing that tied it all together, the thing that proved it wasn't just one bad teacher, but a system that protected him. When can we come home? I asked. Soon, Officer Reyes promised. Very soon. Ending section. 2 weeks after Officer Reyes called about Megan's journal, we finally got the green light to come home. The state prosecutor had filed charges not just against Mr. Henry, but against Principal Dawson, the former police chief, and 3 other teachers who had helped cover everything up. They were calling it a conspiracy of silence. In the news. I packed my stuff in about 10 minutes. Honestly, I didn't have much with me anyway. Just the clothes Ms. Patel had bought me and a few books from Priya's shelf that I hadn't finished yet. Lily took longer. She'd actually settled into Portland life pretty well, made some friends at her new school. Part of her wanted to stay. We can always come back to visit, her mom told her while helping her fold her clothes. But we need to see this through. The drive back to Westlake felt weird, like we were going backwards in time. I kept thinking about everything that had happened since we left. How I'd started community college classes. How I'd finally called my parents after 2 months away, only to have my dad ask if I could pick up beer on my way home. How my mom had accused me of being replaced by a government clone. Ms. Patel noticed me getting quiet as we crossed the state line. You okay? Yeah, I lied. Then, number. I don't know what I'm going back to. You're going back to finish what you started, she said. And then you can decide what comes next. We arrived in Westlake late that night. Ms. Patel dropped Lily and her mom off first, then drove me home. The house looked exactly the same. Peeling paint, overgrown lawn, Dad's truck parked crooked in the driveway. Want me to come in with you? Ms. Patel asked. I shook my head. I got this. I didn't, but I needed to do it alone anyway. Inside, the house smelled like stale beer and cigarettes. Dad was passed out on the couch, an empty bottle on the floor beside him. No sign of Mom. I went to my room, half expecting it to be turned into storage or something, but it was untouched. Dusty, but untouched. I crashed on my bed without unpacking. Tomorrow would be a big day. Officer Reyes wanted us at the station first thing to go over our statements one more time before the preliminary hearing. Morning came too fast. I showered, put on the nicest clothes I had, which wasn't saying much, and headed out before my dad woke up. Ms. Patel picked me up at the end of the block. Sleep okay? She asked. Not really. Me neither. The police station was packed with reporters. Officer Reyes met us at a side entrance to avoid them. She led us to a conference room where Lily and her mom were already waiting, along with several other girls I recognized from Mr. Henry's folders. Thank you all for coming, Officer Reyes said once we were settled. I know this hasn't been easy for any of you. That was the understatement of the century. The preliminary hearing is tomorrow, she continued. The prosecutor just wants to make sure we're all on the same page with our statements. A woman in a sharp suit introduced herself as the lead prosecutor. She went through each of our stories methodically, asking clarifying questions, making sure the timeline matched up. When she got to me, she paused. Emma, your testimony is particularly important because you were both a victim and, well, you participated in the harassment of another victim. I nodded, my stomach churning. I know. The defense will try to use that to discredit you. They'll say you're only coming forward now to avoid charges yourself. Am I? Going to be charged, I mean? She hesitated. Normally, yes. What you did to Megan Thompson was criminal harassment. But given your age at the time, the manipulation you were under, and your cooperation now, the DA has decided not to pursue charges. Relief washed over me, followed immediately by guilt. I didn't deserve a pass. Not after what I'd done. That doesn't seem fair, I said. To Megan. No, it doesn't. The prosecutor agreed. But Megan's parents have read her journal. They understand now that you were a victim too. They don't want to see you punished. That hit me like a truck. Megan's parents had every reason to hate me, to want me to suffer like their daughter had suffered. But instead, they were showing me mercy I didn't deserve. The meeting continued for hours. By the end, I was emotionally drained. We all were. Officer Reyes ordered pizza for everyone, and we ate in exhausted silence. Get some rest tonight, she told us as we were leaving. Tomorrow's going to be tough. She wasn't kidding. The courthouse was even more packed with reporters than the police station had been. They shouted questions as we walked in, asked if it was true that a student had helped a predator target other students, asked if the school board knew, asked if more arrests were coming. Inside wasn't much better. The courtroom was standing room only. I spotted Megan's parents sitting in the front row. Her mom caught my eye and gave me a small nod. I quickly looked away, unable to face her kindness. Mr. Henry was already there, sitting with his lawyer. He looked different, smaller somehow, less intimidating. He didn't look at any of us as we filed in. Principal Dawson and the others who'd been charged were there too, each with their own lawyers. They all looked nervous. They should be. The hearing itself was a blur. The prosecutor presented the charges. The defense lawyers made their arguments for dismissal. The judge denied them all. A trial date was set for 3 months out, and just like that, it was over. For now. Outside, the reporters were still waiting. Officer Reyes escorted us through them to a waiting van that would take us home. As we pushed through the crowd, I felt someone grab my arm. I spun around, heart racing, half expecting to see Mr. Henry somehow free and coming after me, but it was Megan's mom. Emma, she said, her voice soft but steady. Could we talk? Just for a minute? I looked at Officer Reyes, who nodded. I'll wait with you. We stepped to the side, away from the main crush of reporters. Megan's mom took a deep breath. I wanted to thank you, she said, for coming forward, for telling the truth. Don't thank me, I'd said, my voice cracking. What I did to Megan, I can never make that right. No, you can't. Her bluntness was actually a relief, no false comfort. But you can help make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. And that's what you're doing now. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small notebook with a floral cover. This is Megan's journal. The police gave it back to us after they made copies for evidence. I thought you should read it. I stared at the notebook, afraid to touch it. I don't understand. Megan wrote about you, she explained. About how she could see that you were being manipulated too. She was angry at you, yes, scared of you, but she also pitied you. She understood that you were as much a victim as she was, even if you couldn't see it yet. I took the journal with trembling hands. Thank you, I whispered, not knowing what else to say. She nodded once, then walked back to where her husband was waiting. I clutched the journal to my chest all the way home. That night, I read it cover to cover. Megan's handwriting was neat and small. Her words were thoughtful, insightful. She wrote about her first interactions with Mr. Henry, how flattered she'd been by his attention, how things had gradually changed, how he'd tried to isolate her from friends, how he'd touched her inappropriately during tutoring sessions, how she'd finally gathered the courage to report him. And yes, she wrote about me, about the dolls hanging from her trees, about the animal organs in her locker, about the notes, about her fear and confusion and anger. But she also wrote about seeing me with Mr. Henry, about recognizing the same patterns, about wondering if I knew what was happening to me, about hoping that someday I would realize the truth before it was too late. The last entry was dated the day before she died. She wrote about feeling like there was no way out, about how no one believed her, about how the harassment had become unbearable. But her final words weren't about fear or despair. They were about hope. Maybe someday the truth will come out, she wrote. Maybe someday he'll target someone who fights back harder than I could. I hope so. I hope he stopped before he hurts anyone else. I cried myself to sleep that night, holding her journal like it was something precious. And it was. It was her voice, still speaking, still fighting. The next 3 months were a roller coaster. The case made national news. More victims came forward, not just from our school, but from the previous school where Mr. Henry had taught. The conspiracy unraveled further. The school superintendent was implicated. 2 school board members resigned. A former district attorney admitted to burying evidence years ago. Through it all, we prepared for trial. Mock cross-examinations, psychological evaluations, support group sessions with the other victims. I even started seeing a real therapist, not just for the trial, but for me. For all the damage that had been done long before Mr. Henry ever entered my life. My parents remained oblivious. Dad kept drinking. Mom kept seeing conspiracies. I spent most of my time at Ms. Patel's apartment, only going home to sleep when I had to. Sometimes not even then. The trial finally began in early spring. I testified on the second day. Walking to the witness stand, passing right by Mr. Henry, was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I did it. I told my story. All of it. the manipulation, the harassment of Megan, the assault. I didn't minimize my role or try to make excuses. I just told the truth. The defense attorney tried to tear me apart on cross-examination, called me a willing participant, suggested I was making up the assault to avoid charges for what I'd done to Megan, implied I was mentally unstable like my mother, but I held firm. And when he asked why anyone should believe me now when I'd lied so easily before, I had an answer ready. Because I'm not the same person I was then, I said. Because I've seen the truth. Because Megan deserves justice, even if that means admitting what I did to her. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Every day, more damning evidence, more testimony from victims, more details of the cover-up. The defense tried to paint it all as a conspiracy against Mr. Henry, but their arguments fell flat against the mountain of evidence. The jury deliberated for less than 6 hours, guilty on all counts. Not just for Mr. Henry, but for Principal Dawson and the others who'd enabled him. The judge set sentencing for the following month and denied bail for all of them. They were led away in handcuffs. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us again. This time, I didn't hide. I stepped up to the microphones alongside the other victims. We each said a few words. When it was my turn, I kept it simple. This verdict doesn't undo the damage that was done, I said. It doesn't bring Megan back. It doesn't erase what I did to her under Mr. Henry's influence. But it's a start. It's the truth finally being heard. And maybe it will help protect other students in the future. After the cameras left, Megan's parents approached me again. Her mom hugged me. Actually hugged me. I broke down crying in her arms. I'm so sorry, I sobbed. I'm so sorry. I know, she said, holding me tight. I know you are. They invited me to visit Megan's grave with them the next day. I was terrified, but I went. We stood there together, 3 broken people united by loss and pain, and a girl who deserved so much better than what the world had given her. I placed flowers beside her headstone, white lilies, her favorite, according to her journal. I promise I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make this right, I whispered to her. I can't undo what I did, but I can try to honor your memory by helping others. That promise became my guiding light. When the sentencing came down, 30 years for Mr. Henry, lesser but still substantial sentences for the others, I felt no triumph, just a quiet resolve. I finished my first year of community college with straight A's, applied for scholarships, got accepted to a state university with a program in social work. I wanted to help kids like me, like Megan, kids with messed up homes and nowhere to turn. Ms. Patel helped me find an apartment near campus, a tiny studio, but it was mine, a place where I didn't have to worry about my dad mistaking me for my mom, or my mom accusing me of being a government spy. The day I moved in, Lily came to help. She was doing better too. Her mom had finalized the divorce from her dad. They were living in a nice little house on the other side of town. She was going to therapy twice a week and had rejoined the debate team at school. Do you ever think about what would have happened if we hadn't stopped him? She asked as we unpacked my meager belongings. All the time, I admitted. How many more girls he would have hurt, how the cover-up would have continued. I'm glad we did, she said. Even with everything that happened, all the fear and stress and having to leave town, I'm glad we stood up to him. Me too, I said, and I meant it. That night, after Lily left, I sat on my new bed in my new apartment and opened Megan's journal again. I'd read it so many times I practically knew it by heart, but I still found comfort in her words, in her insight, in her hope that someday the truth would come out. It did, Megan, I said to the empty room. The truth came out. He's gone. They're all gone, and I'm going to make sure no one forgets what happened to you. I closed the journal and placed it carefully on my nightstand. Tomorrow would be my first day of classes, the first day of my new life, a life dedicated to making amends in the only way I could, by helping others avoid the traps I'd fallen into. It wasn't a happy ending, not really. Too much damage had been done for that, but it was a beginning, a chance to build something better from the wreckage of the past. And for now, that was enough.